Hello, I'm sat inside our very clean, second-hand UK IONIQ Electric. Why is it clean? Well, it's just been cleaned during its second service after 15,000 miles driven. So let's find out how this second service went. Electrical efficiency. So this is a November 2016 second-hand UK IONIQ Electric, and we got it in late January this year, 2018. So it was serviced once before we got it. We've put about 8,000 miles on it in 8 or 9 months, and it had about 7,300 or so miles on it when we bought it. So it's now at 15,000 miles. So it was quite short of the 2-year 20,000 mile service, not because of our usage patterns, but because it got quite a light use before we bought it. I find it quite uncomfortable dealing with car dealers at all, and the uncertainty of what's going to happen during the service and so on. I am an optimist, but I'm a bit of a paranoid optimist. So before our IONIQ went in for its service, I photographed everything in it. Just to make sure that if anything went missing, we had some sort of record of it. This is going over the top. That's just how I am. But it was a little bit triggered by this email that I got to confirm the service that said, be careful about leaving anything in the car, because they didn't take any responsibility for anything that was lost. That strikes me as a bit odd, how you can't kind of take any responsibility for your staff doing things, that are under your employ. But anyway, so this is also an opportunity to show all the kind of stuff that I keep in my car, from our pushchair and stroller, for the children, and then, the Type 2 to Type 2 charging lead that we use to charge at home. I've also got the 3-pin plug granny cable, the emergency tire inflation kit that came with the car, and some WD-40, some lubricant to lubricate the locking valve caps that I keep on the tyres of the car, an adapter to use in a camping ground, and I think it's a 15-foot or 10 meter, something like that, extension cable that I've got under the floor of the boot or trunk in the car as well. All sorts of bits and pieces in the back of the car here that I normally keep there. And of course then my son's car seat. You can see that I sort of took this out as well, and the seat protector. So these are all the things that were sort of are typically in the car that I took out to go and have it serviced. So as we turned up at the dealer, there was a Hyundai IONIQ plug-in hybrid there, and there was one in the showroom as well, which I had a bit of a look around to see if there are any differences with our IONIQ Electric. I think it was either a lower spec, or perhaps some of the specifications are not available on the plug-in hybrid, because it didn't have rear heated seats, and a few other things. It didn't have the leather seats in it as well. It was nice to see. It was in a nice colour, though. I think I would have preferred the silver if we could have got that with our IONIQ Electric, but ours is just white because that was the second-hand model that was available. The dealer itself was fairly pleasant, and then there was a waiting area. I decided to wait with the car because I had work to do. There was a coffee machine and so on. There was a weird cabinet, I guess, of merch. I'm not sure if I'll ever get any Hyundai merchandise. I like the fact that they had this computer system to show where your particular car was in the kind of service queue, so a confirmation of what it was having done and how far it was progressed through the service. From beginning to end, this service of our IONIQ Electric was 2 hours, or just under 2 hours. While I was actually still sat in the dealer, I got emailed a kind of vehicle inspection report, and that noted, first of all, that the car was dirty when it was delivered, which, yes, of course it was, because I wanted them to take the care of cleaning it, and they did a very good job of it. And some other things then that were noted about the tyres being in kind of orange, so the tyres needing, possibly to be replaced in a few thousand miles. I asked them exactly what that meant about when they would need to be replaced. They said check again in about 3,000 miles. So the tyres have done, as I look at it today, 15,390 miles or so. I've heard all sorts of stories about, electric cars not needing tyres as often as petrol or diesel fueled cars, and the brakes having much lighter wear because of the regenerative braking. So you use kind of the friction of the motor more than you use the actual brake pads and discs. So the brake pads, I'm going to show you the kind of wear that's on them. I'm not really qualified to kind of say what that means about how long they'll last. So they've got 15,000 miles on them for this level of wear. Tyres similarly, 15,000 miles for this level of tread wear. It's probably a bit more than I'd expect, actually. I don't know. Please in the comments, correct me or kind of inform me if you know how this is looking on a trajectory. We do live in a particularly damp part of the world, so the brakes have all sorts of problems with corrosion on the discs and so on. I don't drive particularly aggressively, so I would expect the tyres to get fairly gentle wear. I don't drive kind of with high acceleration and high braking forces and so on very often, so I would want them to be fairly light wear. We also had the maps and the firmware updated on the car during the service, so hopefully they're as up to date as they can be. I've also put here the price of the service. It was £122, I think, and that's possibly a bit higher than I could have got it done if I'd taken it, maybe if I'd shopped around at different dealers. I tried through the Hyundai website actually to search for my car through the registration plate and find out if I could get some recommendations of which dealers near me could do it. The system didn't recognize the car. Now, I've never had a problem with any other kind of system that reads the databases behind the scenes to tell you, that recognize the car. They recognize it as a white IONIQ Electric. So I'm not sure quite whether that's a problem with the Hyundai website. I tried it multiple times on multiple days. Who knows? I don't know if it's radically cheaper than the second service of other cars. I don't really know how to benchmark that, whether other Hyundai cars or, other petrol and diesel cars or other electric cars. Let me know in the comments if you've kind of got a benchmark for a sense of whether this is overpaying or, it's a kind of reasonable amount. I don't have any kind of, service packaging, multi-year package with the IONIQ Electric. In terms of other items that might be worn on the car after the 15,000 miles that we've had before going in for the service, there's not much sign of wear on the driver's seat that gets the most use. Even on the bolster of that, where I get in and out a lot. A sort of comment was to request to show this when I could. It looks pretty much the same as the bolster on the passenger seat that gets far lighter use. The driver's seat is quite shiny though. I've noticed that the leather on it compared to the passenger seat, that's quite a clear sign. But the seats in the back are holding up fairly well in spite of having children in them and a heavy car seat. So I hope you enjoyed that video about the rather uneventful second service, but all fine, with our UK second-hand IONIQ Electric and the various things that have come up for possible future maintenance. If you've got any thoughts on those about the brakes and the tyres, let me know in the comments. Subscribe if you'd like to see more videos, and bye for now.